donor to this organization, because I'm leaving it that much. I'm so thankful that Ms. Odette is over here, the passion that you've been encouraged in her voice. She is serious about this thing, and so is Sylvia. So I was glad when they came to us at Ibrahim, because last year they had 50 of our students. They've got about 30 this year. And we're focusing in this year when they came to us about our third grade boys, our African American third grade boys, because that's where we lose them. And so we wanted to do something that's going to keep those boys from going down the drain. So we decided that we would connect with them, because we do come by every now and again. I'm going to be coming by more often to monitor how our children are doing, because they pick our children up from the school and bring them here. She promised that what they would do is get their male counselors to work with a specific group of boys that we're going to target and do one-on-one with those boys for the school year, and also carry over into the summer. That would be a great way for us to track to see how those boys are doing academically, but also in terms of their behavior as well. So we're real excited about having that piece done through the Boys and Girls Club, because we're well aware of the work that they're doing right now with our children. And we can see a difference just with our children that go here now in their behavior, and they're doing their work at school. So we're very thankful for that. I'm hoping that you all will fund this project, fund the Boys and Girls Club, because as Eric well knows, because he funds my position, that starting early.
I don't personally.
Need to.
I should.
Yeah, you should. Starting early affects how our children do. By third grade, we know we lose them. If we don't have our children at third grade doing academically well, they're not going to graduate from high school, right? And all this movement that's going on around education right now is around that. And who's feeling the most, as we all know, are African American boys, right? So our parents need help. Not all of our parents are able to do the work on their own. A lot of our parents are working parents. Most of our parents work 2 jobs. Okay, so they need some place where they know their children can go in the afternoon, and they're going to be safe. They're going to be able to get someone to help them with their homework. They're going to be able to have some enrichment activities, right? And the parents are going to be welcomed as well. What I love about this is that the residents are welcomed here as well. So this is resident engaged, which is one of your criteria, right? So we have that going on here at Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club. And so I really want you to take all that into consideration when you're considering the funding for this particular organization. I will continue out of pocket to fund the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you ask a big question. We have a big proposal on how does it all fit together. You heard the first component, which is the biggest single function that goes on in this building is our Boys and Girls Club. And not only do we want to continue the great programs we're doing here, but we want to expand it by adding career skills for the Winston-Salem Prep students, and also recruit 20 new students from 4 schools, from Ashley, Petrie, Abraham, and Mineral Springs. We currently don't serve any children from Mineral Springs, so we're really excited about that. The second component is a seniors program. When we submitted the letter of intent back in the summer for this process, we did not include a seniors program. We didn't envision it. We hadn't envisioned it. But we spent some time between the summer and the fall looking at data and thinking hard about how to use our space best. Roughly 25% of the people in Place Matters are older people. So there's a large population of people who, as we age, we may feel a sense of isolation and loss, loneliness. There's all kinds of feelings that may come with that. We also looked at the survey results that the United Way did, and some words that popped out to me were place, people, and programs that could continue to resonate. Then we looked at our space. When are we using our space? We're using our space in the afternoons, but from roughly 7 in the morning to 2 o'clock, it's empty, which is not being a good steward. So we put all that together and we thought, you know what? Seniors program, this would be a great idea. We, in keeping with the fact that it's going to be participant designed, we can't give you specifics about what it's going to look like, what hours, what they're going to focus on. There is one component, however, that we really want to implement, and that's a volunteer component. So there's sometimes a gap. We're stratified, and a lot of times that's around different things, but age is one of them. So young people and older people don't interact frequently. So we want to change that. And we want to include senior volunteering as a key component of the center. So we want to recruit 50 seniors and hopefully 25 of them to volunteer either as tutors, one-on-one with kids, or in our garden program. We've called this Grow a Gardener. So we want to match up 12 to 14 volunteers with students who are already gardening. Who mentioned gardening? Oh, Patrice, yeah. So we have a state-of-the-art, a beautiful garden in the back that Food Network and Time Warner Cable built for us about 4 years ago, and we've made some additional beds. So we want to grow this. To me, the sky's the limit on this. The relationships that can be born out of it. Kids will feel loved. They'll experience a different perspective. Adults will feel fulfilled in the volunteering. So we're excited. That could go anywhere. The third component is a mental health and substance abuse prevention component. And I'll let Andy Haglor from mental health speak to that.
Okay, yeah, and this is part of the criteria as far as for providing mental health screenings, mental health education, health fairs, because we know that for children and adolescents in particular, about half of the symptoms of anybody with a mental illness, symptoms occur in about 50% of youth and adolescents. Or if a person's going to have a mental illness, 50% of the symptoms occur by age 14, and then 75% of the symptoms occur by age 25. So we know that now that for persons with a mental illness, mental health condition, behavioral health disorder, they start in early childhood, which is probably that third grade. And having been a former third grade teacher several decades ago, well, 4 decades ago, anyway, or 3, anyway, 3 decades ago, anyway, but that we know that by the time, that was even then in third grade that you start losing them. And so one of the things that I've always kind of brought up is like, well, with high school dropout or people dropping out of school or not finishing high school, what are we doing as far as for accessing services, providing the screenings, providing the supports to really try to intervene and get people accessed into behavioral health, mental health services. And of course, we also know that a big component and one of the, there are lots of barriers. And of course, the biggest barrier is stigma, reluctance to accessing services. And we also know that among the African American community that there is a stigma about mental health. And so still a lot of education, a lot of awareness. So part of this initiative is to go about it as far as raising the awareness, raising education, but also providing screenings where screenings are not a diagnosis, but where maybe somebody might have the symptoms that might indicate an anxiety disorder, which are very prevalent, which is probably prevalent. There's proportionally the highest of anybody with any kind of mental disorder is going to be an anxiety disorder. A lot of times we think about depression, bipolar disorder. In the media we hear paranoid schizophrenia all the time, but anxiety disorders are your most prevalent. And anxiety disorders start in childhood, usually somewhere around the age of 8. So again, it's getting that education and then broadening the outreach. So that, because we know that if we can try to get individuals, children, families, older adults, senior adults accessed into services, then their lives are going to be much better. Their functionality in society is going to be much better. Well, I cannot and will not go into any specifics. We have an individual that we interface at our agency who lives in this neighborhood. Unfortunately, I had to make a call and be very persistent, and I did it, but where we dispatched mobile crisis services to an individual who is actually a resident in this neighborhood, just because of some things that we became aware of. And so where this individual is now in a hospital. And that's an extreme. We really don't want that to happen. But sometimes you have to happen, and when things come to your attention, we have a duty and ethic that we have, things that we have to do. But it serves the community so much better if we can prevent people from going into the hospital, or prevent crisis services, prevent a lot of things that also happen to individuals.
And, oh, I'm sorry.
So tell me kind of specifically, how will mental health and Insight partner?
Basically what it is that like for the screenings, and we have them like, for example, we've got screenings on our website. And one of the things that, just sitting here, that one of the things that we will need to do is all, as far as language and cultural competency and so forth. But we can work on that. And we have forms that are in Spanish, paper and pencil forms.
So does that mean for every child that comes through the Boys and Girls Club, for every senior that goes through?
It's voluntary, and we have a child mental health screening form that's for children age 11 on up, that a child at age 11 can take. Okay, but then we also have forms, screening instruments for depression, anxiety, and actually we have a childhood depression, a childhood screening form. We actually have 7 screening forms that are on our website. One for drug and alcohol, that anybody from age 11 on up can take. And it's confidential, it's online, they answer the questions, and then the results come back immediately.
2 questions, I guess. One, are you using that in the other centers?
Using,
The mental health assessment tools? And secondly, what happens if somebody needs further referral?
All right, if they need further referral, then that's where then then would have an individual, myself, or other folks with us or with Insight who are well, I'm not licensed, but with licensed clinicians or whatever. Again, depending upon the results of the screening, then again, resources in the community where people can go for mental health services.
At no cost?
That we would provide, well, if the person has Medicaid or uninsured, then of course there's CenterPoint, for example, the access call center through that. If the person does have private health insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, then we can go access through their insurance card. Again, or we also have a listing of places like Catholic Charities, through their youth and family counseling services. They provide counseling services free of charge. Or for those centers like Family Services and so forth that provide counseling services on a sliding scale fee. So part of what we try to do, and with this program and what we're going to do, is provide what there is available in this community based on an individual's mental health and also their financial needs, and of course look at those services that are sliding scale free, whatever. And then again, if they are uninsured or Medicaid, and especially if they're going to need maybe more intensive services, then of course there's CenterPoint that is responsible for handling individuals with no insurance or Medicaid.
Thank you.
We already have a relationship with Andy in that he trains our staff so that they're aware of signs. You might want to speak to that.
We entered into a partnership with Sylvia at the Ken Carlson Center last June, where I partner with staff with CenterPoint Human Services to provide what's called youth mental health first aid. In fact, we're doing one right now as we speak at senior services. Youth Mental Health First Aid is an 8-hour, one-day certificate training program that helps anybody in the community, and this is for adults who work with kids, about the signs, the symptoms, the prevalence of mental disorders, mental illnesses in children and adolescents, which does go into that young adulthood. And so goes into about depression, your mood disorders, schizophrenia, or your psychoses, and so forth. But then what it does in this training is that it's a step on how to intervene if an individual is in a crisis for anybody in the community until appropriate help or other help arrives from the community. So that can be, again, as far as like listening skills, providing, of course, reassurance, also providing the professional support services, but also more importantly is providing those peer or other non-professional support services, because we also know that the value of natural supports and peer supports are very important. We have our 24/7 resources like our mobile crisis that I just talked about a few minutes ago. Of course, there's 911, which we've had to use, but the value of having natural peer supports to kind of help sustain people until other help arrives in the community. And that's youth mental health first aid. There's also a version that's adult mental health first aid, which is for all of us. There's also an older adult model. There's also training for law enforcement, LGBT community, so different versions.
One of the other outcomes we wanted to do with Insight Mental Health is to have quarterly resource fairs that are open and free to the public here. So we invite people to come in, learn more, and get material. The fourth and final, I know we're probably out of time, the fourth and final component is this space would be open as a hub for other nonprofits. And the sky's the limit on that too, as long as we have the space available, we want to offer that free. So, for example, we brought Forsyth Tech in to do ESO classes, and that just happened in the last month. So that's an example of, not just focusing on what we're doing, but trying to bring in what other people are doing.
So what are your current hours? Are you looking at maybe extending those to make it even later at night where people might?
We're open.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And you have limited weekend use right now with the Boys and Girls Club portion, right? And it's with the,
Sundays are the busy day on
Yeah,
weekends.
right.
here, But Saturdays are not.
Yeah, we're
occasionally for, I think this morning you said occasionally for some community days.
Yeah.
We have a community day once a year,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Mornings, daytime's free, and then after about 6:30 or 7 o'clock. That's free too.
Yeah.
Is your senior center for active seniors, or is it
You probably,
respite care?
no, it would be
No.
more for active seniors, yeah.
Thank you.
And just sort of conclude all of this and hopefully put a nice bow on top of it for you. You heard heavy Boys and Girls Club in our presentation. That is the largest part of the budget that we're looking at. And you might say, well, why that? Well, and my answer would be, why not? Because what we do know, and we've heard from parents, and we've heard from Andy and others, what we do know is that our future starts with our young people. And so we believe if we get it right there, if we get the Boys and Girls Club at its best, at its peak, correct, then this generation and future generations will not encounter some of the pitfalls that current and, the more seasoned generations are and have and are. And then to wrap all of it around, it makes this a natural progression to reach out to seniors. Salvation Army has done senior programs for years. There's still a lot of life left in those seasoned veterans. I don't like to call them old folks or even seniors. There's a lot of life, a lot of wisdom stored there. And we see that intergenerational piece dovetailing well and wonderfully into the club and beyond. To make this building a hub is just the right thing to do for the community, but it comes with a cost. I mean, while our doors are closed and locked and the alarm's set, it costs us nothing. But when we start opening the building up, we have to have personnel on site, we have to have cleaning, we have to have this, that, and the other. And so there is a cost, budget cost in that. But it makes so much sense to do that here because of our proximity, because of our intentionality of settling here in 2003, and now our greater intentionality to be that hub, that gathering spot. Most everybody knows where Salvation Army is on Walkertown, New Walkertown Road. They know where it is. They don't know what it is. That's why we have Bob. They don't know what we do here or all that we do here. There's value. There's value in sending information home with the children who come here. You know, to say this is something, most little kids love to come home and give mom and dad something. You know, so if it's an announcement about the seniors program, if it's an announcement about this, that, or the other, then that just makes this place a better site and more operational as a hub for the community. So thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to share this afternoon with you. Are there any other questions that we didn't cover? Or information you need from us? Sylvia's got some brochures.